My name's Dave DeBow, founder of MoneyPartnerFormula.com, and this show is built for everyday real estate investors who are actively doing deals and looking to scale using other people's money. So if you're an active real estate investor and you want to get featured on this show to talk about your own real estate and capital raising experiences, then just go to daveinterviewsyou.com. Now let's get rolling with this episode, and remember to subscribe for daily interview content. Hey gang, welcome back. We got another great episode. We got not one, but two dynamic real estate entrepreneurs joining us, both zooming in from the San Francisco Bay Area, and they're both part of the same company, Pacific Private Money. We've got Hanf and Edward Brown. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. Great to have you.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah. So let's just get started, gentlemen. Give us a little snapshot of what Pacific Private Money is. More or less, how many years have you been in business, and what's your primary thing that you're lending money on?
So as our name says, Dave, so Pacific Private Money, we're a private real estate lender, and we basically serve two types of clients. We serve the borrowers we make, generally short-term real estate loans to, but we also get all of our capital from private individual investors. We don't really specialize in any particular type of loan because, private money, we've been doing it now for 17 years, started in 2008, right when real estate was starting to go on sale. And so our first clients back then were all flippers, right? And then it kind of moved along to people acquiring, rental properties, and it's morphed into construction lending, additional fix and flip, multifamily development, and we even do a consumer bridge loan. Go ahead.
That's the thing is we're one of the few companies licensed primarily in California to do the owner-occupied consumer bridge loans, because after Dodd-Frank came in, there's all kinds of regulations and all that, and it's a fairly expensive barrier of entry. So a lot of fix and flip lenders just said, no, we'll just stay with the fix and flip. So for people who want to buy their next home and don't want to sell their first home yet, we were able to lend them the money to buy the next home and cross collateralize it with the other house. But again, it's a consumer loan, and so with the continuing education, the licensing, the legal, and the software, it's a pretty expensive barrier. So Mark decided with Pacific Private Money, you know what, I think this is going to be a good place for us to enter, and it's been really good.
Well, that's interesting, you guys. So what you offer, you start off with primarily flippers. So I got a couple of questions. First of all, you're doing a lot of different stuff now, but is there like a bread and butter clientele that's like the bulk of your business? And if so, what does that look like?
Well, interestingly enough, the loan that Edward started describing has become half of our business. So
Really?
unlike most private lenders nationwide who focus on construction loan, multifamily, fix and flip, small balance commercial, we do all those and we like all those. But we've been doing more of these consumer bridge loans, probably half of our business. And we are multi-state. We're not in every state, but it's a real good buy before sell solution for people who have a home, need to move, don't want to sell first. Particularly during COVID, we were writing these loans like crazy because who wanted to move during COVID, right? And rent an apartment, even if you could find one. So if you've got equity in your home, we can oftentimes make a purchase money loan to you for the house that you can go out and look for at your convenience, find a home, make an offer, and we can do 100% financing and cross with your existing home. So
well, let's unpack that for a second, gentlemen, because that's fascinating that's now 50% of your book of business. Because I'm just thinking from a business perspective, like that's a whole different clientele. Like your previous clientele, those are real estate investors buying and selling, flipping, building, that kind of stuff. And then switching over to mom and pop homeowners looking to do that. That's a whole different kettle of fish, so to speak. So interesting there. So maybe walk me through what's like the ideal situation where a consumer would reach out to you guys to get this kind of a loan. Maybe kind of paint the picture more completely there for me.
I'll definitely answer that.
Like what's the difference between this and a home equity line of credit, I guess?
Well, the difference is that, well, first off, our ideal client has about 50% equity in their home. And for most people moving, that's very typical because of how real estate prices have appreciated over the last 5 and 10 years. So if they have at least 50% equity in their home, and I'll use California numbers, it's $1 million house, they owe $500,000. They want to move to another home. Maybe they're moving up or moving down or changing jobs and moving elsewhere. They're buying another $1 million home. We can make them a loan for $1 million, 100% of the purchase price. But because we cross that loan, we cross collateralize it basically by putting a lien on their existing home, we get our combined loan to value number that we need,
50%?
which is generally about 75% CLTV, combined loan to value or less. And yet it's no money out of their pocket except for maybe some closing costs, et cetera. And so it provides a lot of opportunities. What's interesting is that most of our clients who take advantage of this consumer bridge loan have never done a hard money loan. So it's a completely different client. So they get a little bit of sticker shock from like, oh, it's going to be 10% interest and a couple of points. And they're aghast. But because these loans are sold generally through our network of real estate agents and mortgage loan agents, they sell the deal for us. They say, look, when done correctly, this is not going to cost you anything because you're going to move out of your house as is into your new home with no extra moving costs, no storage, no having to put stuff in storage and rent an apartment. Then you're going to get to fix up your house and get rid of your pet smells and all the other stuff. We'll help you freshen it up. You're going to sell it for more money, maybe even stage it, sell it for 15% more money than you would have gotten elsewhere. That pays for the cost of our bridge loan. So you get all of the conveniences. You get to buy the house you want. And oh, by the way, because we don't have any contingencies on our loan when we give you a letter of intent, your agent can treat it like a cash, an all cash offer. So we often do, 2 to 3 week closings for our clients who happen to be bidding, say, in a very strong market where you're having to go up against cash buyers. You can make a cash-like offer with our consumer bridge loan. So it's
plus the emotional part about not having to move twice is worth a lot to a lot of
the
people.
wives love it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's making a ton of sense now, you guys. Well, that is fascinating. So I heard a couple of things there. So you're switching over to this. Well, you're not switching, but you've added this new product to your offerings, whole different clientele, but you're not necessarily out beating the bushes, advertising, trying to find these people directly. They're coming to you through realtors.
Banks, professionals.
Realtors. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, remember, we can fund a lot faster than a typical bank, and we can because we're not under the FIREA laws, we can accept another bank's appraisal, and so we can review that and decide if it's an appropriate appraisal. Whereas if you go from one bank to another, by law, they have to get a new appraisal.
Oftentimes we could do without an appraisal too. Again, because we're hard money, we don't have the same types of laws. Because it's a consumer loan, it is treated a little bit differently than, say, a fix and flip. But we've got a team. We've actually, because it's become half of our business over the last 10 years, we've actually divisionalized the company. So we do the consumer bridge loans under another company name, Arrival Home Loans. But Pacific Private Money is the major owner of that division. And so if all goes well, maybe at this time, 5 years from now, maybe we'll be putting that company on the market and selling it to one of the big guys out there that could use this as a tool for their either their realtors or mortgage brokers to be able to close more homes, help more people buy their next home, and just generally provide a free tool to help their employees make more money.
It's interesting how the debacle between 2008 and let's say 2012 actually helped our market because the banks got a lot stricter on what they were allowed to do, which was actually good because in the old days, as Mark used to say, all you had to do is fog a mirror and get a loan, and that's not really good for anybody.
No,
right?
we found that out the hard way.
No, exactly. So it's
economy.
a specialized 11-month bridge loan that we make, and that gives the client time to fix up their other property and sell it. It's not like
top
it's not like
dollar.
that.
Exactly. Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. Now we were talking a little bit off air, you guys, about the other side of your business, which is bringing people on who want to be involved in real estate, but really don't want to deal with tenants, toilets, swinging hammers, contractors, the not so fun side of the real estate business, but they'd like to get the benefits. So tell us a little bit about how that thing works.
Edward, you want to take that?
Well, specifically, like with this arrival fund, clients right now, we're paying 10% interest.
That's
and
attractive.
it's
Yeah.
just a 1 year hold. They do have to be accredited investors, so they have to fit that criteria. But after 1 year hold, they can ask for a redemption, and it'll be on an as-needed basis. But it pays quarterly, and it's a fairly conservative investment because every 2 to 3 weeks we are selling those loans out to buyers who are already have contracts with us. So there's a lot of liquidity, and just put the money on a conveyor belt, do a loan, sell it every 2 3 weeks, put it on the conveyor belt. So I'd say the big restriction there is there's going to come a time when we're going to have to close it off because with the money just rolling and rolling over, there's only so much money that we could raise and put out there. So we're still raising
Yeah, we've
money
been
for
very
the fund.
successful with that fund. We've
Yeah.
we've done some other funds as well,
Mhm.
and for those investors that are a little bit gun shy when it comes to funds, and there are those folks out there that would, investors who would prefer not to be in a fund that's managed by somebody else. We also offer, what's called in California trust deed investing. In other states where there's mortgages instead of trust deeds, it's mortgage investing. But either way, it's we allow clients to invest either in a whole note or maybe put up a fraction of a note. So on $1 million note, we might have 5 investors in it for different amounts of money, totaling $1 million, and they'll receive the note rate minus our servicing spread, which is usually like 1% or 100 basis points. So they may get 8, 9, 10% on a note, and then that way they have the satisfaction of knowing, well, my security, my collateral is that house, and if that guy doesn't pay, we're going to own that home and have foreclosure rights and all the
Yeah,
other.
so that's smart. You've got two options there. You got the
Correct.
fund, which is just the big easy button.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plunk in your money there and either take the disbursements or recycle that and let it compound.
Correct. Yeah, because
Or
you can compound it.
or if you want, you can own the note or own the mortgage, whether it's a first mortgage or a second mortgage, depending on how it's structured. And you can own the whole thing, or like which is
Yeah.
you can own a fraction of it as well with several other people, but you've got that, you know, more visible, tangible security. Not that the fund isn't secured, it's just this is a little bit more
Well,
visible.
what's interesting too on the fund,
Mhm.
I tell people it's like a mutual fund, but instead of owning a bunch of stocks, we own the mortgages.
A bunch
What's
of
also
property, yeah, of
interesting, Dave,
course.
is that what we learned, we started out by just working with individuals who wanted to invest in notes. I bird dogged people that most of them were in real estate professionals. And I came from the real estate industry before I started lending 17 years ago. And what I've learned is that almost invariably, people who invest in notes don't invest in funds, and people who invest in funds don't want to invest in notes because
Yeah.
it's a little bit more complex. But if you're sophisticated enough to know how to invest in a note and how to make a decision quickly, because the best notes go
Yeah.
really fast, right? So,
Yeah.
so it's a game. So we've got like 50 go-to investors that we know what they like, and it will go right to them if we've got a note that kind of fits their wheelhouse.
I'm
Why we're
smiling.
raising money in our funds, because our funds allow us to then just close the loan, and then we could still sell it post close. So it gives us a lot of different opportunities there.
Yeah, one of the issues with individual deeds of trust is the fact that once your loan gets paid off, you're sitting in cash waiting for
Yeah.
your next loan opportunity. And it's funny because literally 2 days ago, I think Mark's company sent out an email about a loan, and as an investor, I looked at the loan myself. I thought, wow, this one really looks good, and I
It was a good
emailed
one.
and asked the question, and it was gone. There was already two people who were interested in it. And, hey, I want preference here. No, sorry, you can't have it.
So I was going to ask you guys, you've been doing this for 17 years. You started off working with a lot of private investors looking to buy into notes, and then more recently, now it's the fund idea. What have you found to be most effective to connect with these kind of people and bring them on board as investors with your company? What works well for you guys besides word of mouth? I'm sure at this point that's a big one.
Yeah.
But like if you're going out cold to somebody,
Mm.
how are you getting people engaged and bringing them on board?
It's definitely changed, Dave. I used to go to like meetups, and every event, that I could find, I would attend. I mean, there were private wealth manager events, and there were family office events, and then real estate events. So that was a lot of face to face, and then a lot of cold emailing. Back in the day, you could just easily hire someone to scrape websites and send out emails, and it wasn't as punitive as it is now when you send unsolicited emails. Today, we're getting most of our leads, quite frankly, from display ads in Facebook and Google and Instagram. And in fact, I'm known to, in fact, today even I screenshotted a whole bunch of ads I saw that, oh, those are clever. That looks kind of good. I like to borrow ideas from other folks that I see out there raising capital, promoting, 8, 9, 10% returns on various asset classes. So really that probably works best. And email still works. So you can buy curated lists, and then there's a certain process that I've got a marketing guy that is really up on the latest rules and regulations around that, because you still got to be careful with email. But so email lists, newsletters, Facebook, Google, that's really probably the best lead generation that we can do right now. And it is hard. I know anecdotally from other fund managers that the last couple of years, since interest rates have gone up quite a bit, and consumer rates that you can get on CDs and elsewhere are in the 4s and sometimes 5s, it's been harder for us to raise money, because the difference in what we offer and what you can get for relatively safe, government-backed yields the spread isn't quite as large. So you have to work a little bit harder, twice as hard for half the leads.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. So what have you found over the years? Because you've been doing this for a long time through a couple of different cycles.
Yeah.
Like, what kind of a spread between like a government type bond and what you guys are offering is like the sweet spot where people really pay attention, and it's believable, it's attractive for them, and it's easier for you guys to sell? What would you say that spread should be?
I think, Edward, I'll let you see what your opinion is on this. My opinion, it's somewhere between 4 and 7, depending on the sophistication level. Like, for instance, today, if I could offer 12%, I could raise so much more capital, but I can't lend it for 12% in California. California has the most competitive pricing for hard money in the country. So you could still get 9 and 10% hard money rates in California, where elsewhere, other states, you're going to be 11, 12, 13, maybe even 15%. And our loans are larger, so that, we can still be very profitable on, $1 million loan at 10%, a couple of points, is better than a $200,000 loan at 15% and a couple of points, right? So I would say, so about a 4% to 7% spread, I think is the primary motivator between those who think, 10% is too good to be true, but 8% I'm attracted to, and I'm only getting 4% in my money market account right now, or my CD. Edward, what do you think?
Yeah, I was going to say it is, again,
you would be more, I know.
Yeah. But here's something that a lot of people have to take into consideration, is that our funds, if they go into our funds, they qualify for QBID. And QBID stands for Qualified Business Income Deduction. And so in the United States, at least, for right now, the rules are, and you have to ask your CPA, because I can't remember if the number changed, like 315,000 of modified adjusted gross. But anyway, if you qualify for it, 20% of our income that we pay you is tax-free. So you have to take that in consideration, where if you've got a CD that you're paying taxes on versus our fund, where you only have to pay taxes potentially on 80% of what we pay, that takes into consideration some of this.
Yeah, it could add up to 75 basis points depending on your tax bracket to your yield. As does compounding, which is one reason to invest in a fund. If you don't need the money on a monthly or quarterly basis, you get added compounding premium on top of that too. So it's interesting. It's interesting. It's raising capital is not for the faint of heart. That's for sure.
No, definitely. Well, gentlemen, if people are listening or watching this and they'd like to find out more about you guys and connect with you, if you only had one place to send them, where would that be?
PacificPrivateMoney.com. All of our information, bios, contact information. We're not ashamed to put our email addresses and phone numbers on there. So PacificPrivateMoney.com is the best place to find out more.
Fantastic. Well, hey, Edward, Mark, thank you very much for being on the show. This has been great.
Thank you,
Dave.
All right, everybody, take care, and we will see you on the next one. Hey there, I really hope you enjoyed that episode. And as always, if you want to listen to more daily interview content, make sure you subscribe. And if you're an active real estate investor and you're doing deals and you'd like to get featured on this show, then just head over to daveinterviewsyou.com.